Had you been born an ant, everything you'd know of would have started with the queen, the mother, the most important member of nearly every existing ant colony. But is one of the most perfect animal societies a simple monarchy? Of course not. The world of ants is much more fascinating than this, familiar and alien at the same time. Dear listeners, let me introduce you to the hobby of ant keeping and the tales ants write with their lives. Hope you enjoy! Today I introduce to you the Black River tribe, my young colony of most likely common black ants. Let's take a closer look on what is going on inside. The nest looks fairly empty, even though there are at least 3 dozen workers in there. Though we can see them in this shot, many are hanging around in the hydration test tube sticking from the left side of the nest. But look at all those larvae! That's gotta be around 50 new workers in the making, if not more. Their older sisters are constantly taking care of them, doing their best to ensure no larva is neglected. Deeper inside the chamber rests the queen. She's always being groomed by some of her daughters. Her hygiene is of utmost importance. After all, if she got infected by germs or parasites, it could kill her, and that in turn would spell doom for the entire colony. No more eggs, no more larvae to take care of. Soon life of the workers would have become pointless, and they would have no choice but to passively await their end. But not only queen's hygiene is held up to high standards. Every worker ant regularly grooms herself too. They clean their antennae very often to improve their senses, but also all the rest of their bodies that they can reach to prevent disease and fungal outbreaks in the colony. And look at this one ant. She's clearly enjoying a cozy grooming session provided by her sister. Looks like tribe ants don't have to worry about the places they can't reach on themselves either. Let's watch her for a bit. Remember the hydration test tube I mentioned? My ants chose it as the perfect space to store their eggs and pupae in. I must admit, when I first saw it, it surprised me greatly, since I lived under impression that ants place eggs in conditions closer to where they prefer to keep their larvae, not pupae. This certainly calls for some more research. Of course, there are always some workers in here on guard, keeping them clean, watching if any pupae are ready to be opened, and if there's any danger. Well, it looks like I spooked them into moving this brood back into the main chamber. Sorry, little ones. Also, did you notice? Right here, there's some pupae without cocoon. It could have happened as the result of larvae not having any substrate to help them start on that. Hopefully though, in safe and hygienic environment, they'll still develop just fine. If you paid attention to those two ants, you've just encountered an excellent example of trophallaxis. That is, one ant feeding the other mouth to mouth. That way, even the workers that don't go out to forage can get their share of whatever food others bring back in their social stomachs. Fascinating adaptation, isn't it? Imagine we had an organ made solely for the purpose of carrying something to share with others. That aside, take a look at the larva pile. While most of the time ant babies look immobile, we can clearly see one of them moving by the side of that one worker ant. Other attention-grabbing things are for sure the pieces of insect exoskeleton amongst the larvae. It's an indication that in this species of ant, larvae can eat solids, and the workers leave the pieces of insects they bring into the nest for them to feed on. Sometimes, with colony this small, even the queen participates in tearing insects into smaller pieces for her youth. Her large mandibles sure are helpful in case of things like this small beetle. It certainly isn't soft, even if it's tiny. Of course, that doesn't stop the worker ant from trying to help with it. That being said, Queen herself, contrary to the worker ants, needs a good amount of protein to be healthy and produce eggs, so it's entirely possible she's nourishing herself at this very moment too. See that? This overeager worker tried to carry it away. And for a moment it looked like a little game of tug of war between her and the queen. Tribe's mother sure is hungry today. Let's watch her eat for a few more seconds. Finally enough, is it? Now it's time for some obligatory leg washing. Of course, the queen still needs her sugar, like every other adult ant. But that, since first surrounding herself with her worker daughters, she won't ever again need to go get by herself. Workers will feed her from their own social stomachs, so she doesn't need to expose herself to the dangers of foraging. As the foraging goes, aren't little ants drinking from the edges of a drop of sweet liquid one of the cutest things insect world has to offer? Besides, of course, jumping spiders, but we won't meet any of those on this channel anytime soon, so ants must cut it for the cuteness factor. I really hope you enjoyed this short overview of what my pet ant colony does in their average daily lives. In next episodes, we'll dive a little deeper into how life can look like for those common black ants, depending on the stages of their growth. For every member of their tribe has their own work to do for the common good of society, even if she just barely hatched from an egg. If you're curious to hear about it, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell button to get a notification as soon as the next video is up. See you again soon!